Welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes of Wisdom, a channel dedicated to helping you expand your knowledge and develop a more successful and peaceful mind. My guest today was a personal trainer and group fitness instructor for over 16 years. 2 years ago, she decided to focus on her online nutrition business and writing. She is a best-selling author and founder of the Family Tree book series, Real-Life Stories for Forgiveness, Fulfillment, and Freedom. Welcome to the show, Rebecca Harrison. Welcome, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. So nice to be here. Really honored.
So you know what? Let's just jump right into it. It sounds so amazing. Those books, and I checked it out on Amazon. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write that and about those books?
Absolutely. Well, it's a journey, you know. I would say that looking back to my childhood, it was I loved writing. I loved reading. I spent all of my time doing that. There was definitely a strong feeling that I would be a writer one day, that I wanted to be. And you know how life is, it takes those twists and turns and different roads. So I, like you said, I was a personal trainer for 16 years. I'm a mom, of course, to an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old. So I still feel like that's my biggest job right now in life. It happened because of a woman that I know. Her name is Christine Aram. She has her own company called The Woman of Worth. She does workshops for women and is really all about women empowerment. I've known her for about 15 years or more. She just put this thing out on Facebook one day. She was ready to write her first book, wanted to collaborate with women. And it's funny, you know, because I saw this and I didn't actually think of myself. I thought of a friend. And I told this friend about, you know, this book that Christine was getting ready to collaborate. And Christine said, well, Rebecca, why don't you, come to the Zoom info session, find out about it at least. And I'm glad I did, because by the end of that info session, I just went, wow, I think I actually have to apply for this. You know, I was quite drawn to it myself. And it really was a collaboration. I was very blessed to be one of 15 women chosen to be a part of this first collaborative book of Christine's. She, by the way, has now done 7. And they're really, true stories from people's lives. Never, the victim story or anything like that, but often, the things that have been challenging in our lives and how we've overcome. And that was really the first story I shared. So I can show you that book really quick. This is Christine's book and the first one that I was a part of. It was just a series of events. Through that, I met Julie Ann, her name is. And she is the founder of Influence Publishing. She's the woman who published this first book. I just hit it off with Julie right away. I just loved her right away. She's just so full of life and energy, and we just really connected. She's got a story in itself. She's from the UK originally. Basically left her marriage, left her corporate. She was very successful in the corporate world, picked up and just dropped it one day, sailed around the world for 7 years, landed in Canada, decided that she wanted to write her first book really about that experience of sailing around the world and travels and everything she learned. So that's where she wrote her first book, learned how to publish a book, which really led to her company, Influence Publishing. And I would say that her niche is really probably working with a lot of first-time writers, a lot of writers who have that story in them that really needs to be told, but they're not necessarily seasoned writers. She has worked with seasoned writers as well. She's an amazing woman, and I just really connected with her. We became friends. She also, again, the beauty of Facebook, there's good things about Facebook, right? She was posting about writing workshops. And I kept thinking, wow, that'd be really wonderful. I'd love to go do a writing workshop. And at the time, she was living across the water from me in close to Victoria, British Columbia. And I thought, oh, that'd be beautiful. Go do a weekend writing workshop. But then actually one day she posted about having a writing workshop in France. And just these pictures of these beautiful villages and what whoever joined would be experiencing. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to France. Like, and it actually took me a little while to tell my hubby. I wasn't sure, but I did. He said, I think you should go. And I really just, got the money together, got myself organized, got myself to France, to this beautiful writing workshop with Julie and some other women. I did not honestly know what I was going to be working on, what I was going to be writing. I had a brainstorm list of about 11 different things, different ideas of what I'd like to write on. The one that spoke to Julie the most and the other women at the workshop was father-daughter stories.
And that's the first book, right? It's father-daughter.
That is the first book. Yeah. Yeah. And it really just came from wanting my next level of healing, growth in my own relationship with my father. So so that's what we started working on, and Julie really encouraged me. She hasn't done this before, but she was actually inspired to share her own father-daughter story. So she joined me, and we got 11 people together for this collaborative book. It ended up being 8 women sharing their relationships with their father, those stories, and 3 men actually joined us and shared about their relationships with their daughters. So it's pretty small, but there's the authors on the back. There's a Julie with the red hair. And it was just a beautiful experience. It was what I got from it most was the journey that the other authors went on, and how special it was for them, and how healing it was for them. And so it wasn't even right away. It took a little while to realize this is not one book. This is a series, because of course we have, the mother-daughter relationship, we have the father-son, we have the mother-son, there's all those combos. And if I think about it, I mean, it could go on forever. There's all kinds of family.
Oh yeah, especially now the dynamics there's so many different types of families now where it's really changed, right? Where there was kind of before, let's say this, mother and father and kids. So there's only so many. Now it's kind of like there's just so much. There's so many different amazing dynamic combinations of people, and the most important, I think, in any of it is love, right? Just the amount of love that's in that family and relationship, right? No matter what the dynamic is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that led to the second book. And this was the mother-daughter stories. So again, I had 11 women come together and share their story, either about their mother or their daughter or both. I was lucky to be able to share a story about my mom, and also my girl, who's 13. So that was again just a beautiful experience. I'm getting ready to it looks like the next book in the series will be the mother-son relationship. So I already have a couple women interested. I just kind of have to put it out and get going on that.
That's amazing. So can you share maybe with the listener one of the maybe surprising things that you learned or saw from the first book that maybe you didn't really know, but after reading and collaborating with these such amazing people, you said, wow, there's like this common thread or something that's enlightening.
It's so interesting that you said that right at the end, the common thread, because every story is so different and so personal. And yet that's one of the things that really struck me, was that there is a common thread that really weaves all of us together. Some incredibly touching stories, some of them are hard, but again, come with a lot of healing and a lot of guidance for, maybe women or men who may be in similar situations, or really wanting that healing between that important relationship.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you. My personal beliefs, and this is off of a lot of research, is that before you're born and before you come to Earth, you pick your parents, you pick your life experience. So from that angle, if you look at it, because sometimes it can be extremely difficult for some people to accept, especially in they have like an abusive, an unfortunate situation they're born into. But
Mhm.
it's bigger than that. From our human perspective, it might seem horrible, but for our soul, it might be something that we had to learn. And unfortunately, we learn, like Tony Robbins would say, we learn through pain. We don't learn when everything's going well, right? So I don't know. Do you have any kind of I don't know, opinion on that?
I would just say that I'm completely on the same page as you. I agree. I can't know for sure, but it feels right to me that we do choose our parents and we choose, um, our life path to some degree, and it truly is those challenges that take us to evolving and growing and getting stronger and becoming more whole, becoming, you know, who we're meant to be, who we are truly at our core, right?
Yeah,
So,
for
yeah.
sure. And what I really love about it, and we just met like recently through Jeremy, who's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And what I really liked is, so I haven't had a chance to read the book yet. Of course, I will. And it looks super intriguing, and it looks wonderful. Is about that you write, like the tagline: "Real stories for forgiveness,
Mm,
fulfillment, and freedom." And I think
mhm,
forgiveness is just such a huge thing. And I think that everyone that I've met, when we talk about, when I was saying about common thread, is that I've gotten so much amazing knowledge and wisdom from all the wonderful guests like yourself coming on the show, and seeing that at a certain vibration, how much love and forgiveness that they have inside, and how that's just such a important thing. There are so few people, if any, that are at a high vibrational level but have resentment and blame other
mm,
people.
mhm. Well, that's the path to peace, right? That's one of the most important things is forgiveness for um, those people in our life maybe who were doing their best, and didn't have all the answers or were coming from their own place of wounding, right? Forgiveness for ourselves, forgiveness for situations. It's only through forgiveness that we can really get to the next level, right? If we're stuck in that victim or blame, we're stuck.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that you said, so I look at the same thing. And I was just speaking with a friend, Brady, about that same thing, about forgiving ourselves and forgiving others, and how I kind of see it like split into two things. Because sometimes you can forgive somebody else, and sometimes some people are just, they have a big heart and they forgive everybody else, but they don't never forgive themselves, and they're super hard on themselves. So it becomes like self-love, and this kind of, empathy and love for yourself is so huge, and to get over that thing. So I find that interesting. And for myself, like so the book I wrote, Smart Guide to Stop Using Stupid Words, my 3-word mantra is gratitude, forgiveness, and love. And so I think with those 3 things, for having gratitude for everything you have, forgiveness for yourself and others, and embracing love, that you could kind of conquer everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, very powerful words. Probably the three of the highest vibrating um, places to be. Right? Gratitude, forgiveness, love.
Yeah, yeah. And now that you say that, I always think of, on the vibrational chart, that above, so love is like 540, right? Like 500, right, on a
Mhm.
vibrational scale, and joy is higher,
Mm.
right? And someone's going to steal this if I say it, but I think that it would be a really good title for a book, to say like "I joy you" instead of "I love you," because it's like a higher vibration than love.
Yeah, yeah.
I will never write a book called that, so that's why I'm just saying that. But feel free to use that title.
And have you looked it up? I mean, maybe it's out there already, right?
When I thought of it, I did look it up, and I didn't. No, I didn't
Didn't
see
see
it.
it.
So
Okay.
patent
Yeah.
pending. If anyone, they can, yeah, reach out on that. Spoke a bit about the first book and then the second book. So tell us about the third book.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be a foundation of four, just with the different parental relationships. So we've got father daughter, mother daughter. The next one, I'm just about to embark on really gathering the right people. First of all, will be the mother son relationship. And again, I'd love to have mothers speaking about their relationship with their son, as well as I'd love to balance it and have some sons speaking about their relationship with their mom. So yeah, that's the next one, and then that will leave father son, which is, I think, really big. Right, that relationship can be. I already have somebody interested in that one as well. And I think it'll be really interesting when I get to that one, just to be working with men.
So what I've always thought, or common people like myself probably think, is, usually little boys are close to their mother and then little girls are close to their father. And is that true? Is that true? Is there truth to that?
Okay, now I have to read you a quote. Because yeah, you just touched on something very, very interesting, and I did a little bit of research, and I stumbled across this, and it's just so powerful. Do you mind if I just read this? It's in my introduction, and it's just a quote. It's just a couple of paragraphs, and this is by Dr. Linda Nielsen. She's I'd have to look her up again. I think psychologist and counselor, and really specializes in these relationships. She says, here's a little known fact. For both boys and girls, the relationship with the opposite sex parent has the profoundest of bearings on whether or not we grow up to be happy, serene, healthy, fulfilled individuals. The way in which her father interacted with her as she was growing up is a major factor in how a woman's nervous system is wired, which in turn impacts her physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, her self-image, her view of the world, and the ease, or otherwise, with which she loves and trusts as a woman. The first man every female bonds with is her father, and that imprints on her so strongly that any later relationships with men, including romantic ones, are filtered through that experience. Daughters need to know that the first man in their life loved them unconditionally, as all her relationships with men will be patterned after that first love. Again, Dr. Linda Nielsen. Yeah. So when I read that, and I, just the journey that I had been on with my own relationship with my dad, it was big. It made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that must be. First of all, I agree with that. Everything, that word for word. I think that's 100%. I've always thought that. I always look for that. I've studied because of dating, right? So when I was trying to date, I studied all these dating experts, and then on YouTube videos I would watch. So I'm kind of my friends make fun of me. What I'll do when I want to learn something is I watch YouTube videos at ×2 speed. And I put closed captions on, and I just sit there, and I'll sit there for 6 hours straight, just learning everything on a subject, like Matrix style, like Neo, just going on like boom, 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 and some of it's fantastic, and I learn like exceptional things, and some of those things, they're like, it didn't work so well for dating. I'm still not great at dating, so I tried every expert. I looked at men experts, women experts. There's so many things, right? That come between those ages of 0 and 5 and 5 and 10, when a child is at genius level, and when we're at a blank slate and we're starting to form our belief system. So when we start with that belief system, and the first, as you said, as a little girl, and she looks to her father and she starts saying, well, she has a blank slate. Well, what is a man? What is a man supposed to do? And how does a man act differently than a woman? And then starts making these beliefs. And then it creates those neural pathways, right? That become like ingrained. And then, of course, it takes a lot of work to undo those or rewire, like Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, right? What fires together, wires together. And then the methods to do it. My last podcast was with Brady Clifton Bennett. He's a master of NLP, and he kind of goes back and has all these techniques to get in there and rewire, right? Start rewiring those things. And then I'm also a big believer in that our memory is super flawed, right? And there's a lot of proof on it. So what we think happened as a child, it's not accurate at all. I mean, even what we think happened last month or last year is flawed with inaccuracies. And one of the things is when you look at a car accident, right? Just a normal, not a big, just a little fender bender, nothing crazy. And they tried this experiment. Have you heard of this experiment before?
No, I haven't.
When they interview somebody, if they ask them how fast was the car going when it smashed into the other, they'll say a certain response. But if they say how fast was the car going when it bumped the other, they'll say a slower response, right?
Yeah.
And so it matters. Those kind of things will have huge impact. And if you ask 20 different people what happened, you have about 18 different answers of what happened on that one thing that just happened, right? So if you think of as a child, well, what really went on was, that incident that was burnt into my brain as this horrible day. Was my father really that mean? Or was it just like my perception and my emotional state interpreted that? And then every time you recall a memory, you distort it, right? Every single time. So after you recall it like 100 times, 1,000 times since you were 5, like what really happened? No idea.
Yeah. That's a really fascinating topic. And I agree, because like you said, 5 people can be in the same room and have a different account of the same event, right?
Why hold resentment for something that you remember somebody did something to you when you can't even be sure how accurate that memory is? And I find that's another way to make it easier for myself to forgive. So I have nobody in my life that I haven't forgiven completely. Not one person. I like to change my memories. So I learned this one of it from Tony Robbins, was just whenever you think of something that's fun, amazing. So let's say a nice experience you had with your son, this great day with your daughter, and it was so amazing and stuff like that. Every time you think of it with color, and it's bright, and you maybe you're near the water because you live near the water. So you live near you have the water and the sun, and you smell like the air and it's fresh, and your kids are laughing and they're hugging you and they're like, "I love you, mommy," and everything like that. And you just make it so vivid, right? And then whenever you have a thought that comes into your mind or a memory that you don't like, you just make it black and white. And you just kind of like let it go. Like you don't fight it, but you just say, okay, you know what? You just dull it out and just push it away. Right? Just give it no power, no thought. Don't fight it. Don't have try to subside all emotion towards it. So what Tony Robbins said was that years and years of doing that has just, had a phenomenal impact on his life. Right?
Wow. That's super cool. I have heard, I've been in the same room with Tony Robbins and heard him speak, and the man has some memories. Like he's got some trauma, which is, so beautiful. All the healing and love he's brought to thousands of people around the world, right?
Yeah. And again, like, as you said, it started with, he tells that story of the abuse he went through with his mom. It's just crazy, and to turn that around, right?
Yeah. And that's what I would say one of the gifts of these books are, because as many techniques and different theories that are out there, what I've found is it's another stepping stone of that next level of healing for so many people to share a vulnerable story and to actually have it out there in the world,
Yeah. And first of all, it's everybody, including yourself, is super brave, because you have to be, willing to share that part of you, right? To be vulnerable, to share that part with everyone. And I think it's, I admire it so much because it's the right intention, right? Everything is the intent, and it's going to help so many people. I mean, it's helped already so many people, right? Which is beautiful, and especially having those different vantage points. So I'm sure someone could be reading it and say, okay, that's really cool. That's really cool. And then suddenly, boom, like story number 3 or 4, that resonates. That's me, right? That's my story. And to see that, it's wonderful.
That's what I love also about the collaborative book, because there's going to be 1 or 2 stories or 3, who knows, but that really resonate with each reader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really cool because it's really, again, what the world needs is that more people like that, more stories like that, more good things like that. And we always, joke, but it's true. Every time you turn on the TV, CNN or whatever it is, there's no good stories, It's like,
and what's real and what's not, and our world definitely needs a lot of love and healing and people coming together. That's why I think it's beautiful what you're doing, Andrew.